Hello, dear viewers. Welcome back to the channel. This is your host, Maverick here, and today we're watching another episode of ReZero Director's Cut. This is episode 10, which should be the TV episodes of 18 and 19, I think? Something like that. It's probably not all that important anyways. But, I have to say, I am really enjoying the story so far. Not so much the characters, right, or the character development, although I'm sure that's gonna come later, judging by all your guys' responses, but just in the terms of how the story is presenting itself, how the pacing is structured, and how it's throwing plot twist after plot twist after plot twist right into the mix here, right? So, for instance, in last episode, we got stuff such as, apparently the curse on Subaru not only affecting him, but all those around him as well. It's not just a case of him dying, it's a case of those around him dying. We got the mysterious white whale and the case of the disappearing memories, how to completely erase a person's existence from history. And then we also have things like Puck at the very end there. Giant Puck apparently being a badass and all. And so on and so forth, right? So I'm definitely really liking how it's progressing so far. You know, a lot of, especially shonen types of anime, right? You typically go through the same sort of things, right? It's like a gradual climb, and then you got the really hypey climaxes some of the time, and then, you know, you go through this entire motion, right? So it's like, you know, turning the burner, something like that. Whereas in ReZero, it's like no chill at all, right? And I love it. I can't wait to see how all the mysteries, all the puzzles eventually resolve themselves. But with that being said, we got one that we are facing right now, which is Puck. So let's see if he's gonna kill Subaru, right? You might think I'm crazy for saying so, but somehow I feel like that's not entirely crazy either. So let's get right to it. All right, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Yep. Woof. Yeesh. Ah, that's not gonna kill Puck. Ah, there we go. So Puck is related with Satila in some way, eh? I guess being a spirit, maybe he fought her before? Or maybe it has something to do with Emilia, right? Yeah, I would imagine that Puck is really indifferent or even really mad at Subaru right now. And then of course I'm just waiting until Subaru ends it all again. Hmm. Oh yeah. Now, was that scene always that obvious? We see we see the candidate, one of the candidates, what's her name, Krusher, going off, and her gang going off against the white whale. Or maybe I just didn't realize that that was the white whale. Is his head gonna fall off? Out to protect her? Yeah. What? Contract? The white whale. Oh, so the white whale's gluttony. Well, unfortunately, we can actually. Guess you're finally. I mean, I hate to break it to you, man, but you can't really die in vain. Am I being too snarky towards him? I feel like he kind of deserves it, though. Nah, I'd be snarky even if he was a great guy. Which, I'm sure he may be in the future. Oh, it's this scene. Ooh. So, have you truly realized? And if you did, then that was a quick change of attitude. Oh, that's your answer? Okay. Yeah, I was like, it seemed like. So the answer is running away. I mean, Subaru, you really go to both extremes, don't you? So is this episode gonna be him trying to run away but not working out either? Or is he gonna be convinced back here? I mean, I guess this should be a very heartwarming, uh, heartfelt scene. But that pose and whatnot was very reminiscent of some like dating shows and whatnot. Honestly, I feel like the one who's going to be lacking in smiles is probably Subaru himself. Hmm. She probably thought of all this before Subaru proposed this to her, right? This girl. Oh man, she's adorable. We actually also have to realize one thing, right? This is a Rim who, hasn't really confessed her feelings to Subaru yet. Like, all that we saw in the last few episodes don't really count. Yeah, she knows Subaru's not gonna be happy with it. You really go to two extremes, Subaru. All Subaru needs is someone that believes in him. Now this would be the time when we should go to flashbacks of his neat life, but we only have the first episode. I think pretty much everybody realized that, Subaru. Yeah, I don't. By the way, the reason I was smiling during that entire outburst is because, they say that the first step towards fixing a problem is admitting that it's a problem, right? Ram is so cute. Ooh, is this? I think this is the character song of Ram in the background here. Yeah. Oh man. Just accept it, Subaru. Oh my god. Ah, man. Oh man, the tattered. Oh man, I love this girl. Oh my. But you know, surprisingly enough, this is the most mature thing that Subaru has done throughout these last 10 episodes. Or 20. I mean, it's certainly super damn. Oh my god. Hi. But like I said, this is. This is truly perhaps one of the most mature decisions that he's made since coming to this world. Now that's the kind of eyes that I like. Tighter drop. So that was probably episode 18 of the TV. What did I say? See, what she wants is an alliance. She wants someone that she can count on, right? Yeah, he's using his brain. And of course, it has something to do with of course. Really? Alright. Yeah, sure, sure. Right, so you're asking all three of them to come? Right, so appealing to her merchant side, right? This is kind of a bluff too, because he can't really make that decision. Yeah, he's learning from the past. Yay! Okay, so it seems that he. Yeah, Anastasia taught you. Hmm. I would have kind of. I will be honest now. I would be a bit more interested in learning of his inner thoughts, like how he arrived at this conclusion. Austria? Same as Reinhardt? Wait, but there we go. The swordswoman. But if he's an Astro, why is he going with her? I haven't misremembered, right? Reinhardt is of the Von Austria family. Hmm. Oh. Okay. Is this supposed to be like one of those delinquent delinquents with that hairstyle? Oh, someone come to crash the party? Okay, never mind. The old guard? Hmm. 400 years. All right. I gotta say, Kurushu definitely has the interests of the country as her own interests as well. That's what I wanted to say about the situation. I like how they're writing. I just realized they're writing small. Whoops, docs, whatever you want to call them. Right, this tree. This tree definitely is a source of trouble as well. I like how it still has full power right now. You guys see? She just believes. That's definitely quite the burden as well. But Subaru, for Subaru, that's all he needs, really. Right here. You vow not to see her? Wow. Is this really? No. How awful would it be if nothing came? That would get really awkward. There it is. Well, at least he was saved from that embarrassment. How are they supposed to fight it on ground, though? Alright, so we're really hunting mode now. Anyways, see you guys after this. Alrighty, so with this episode, I guess it also represents the turning point for Subaru. He's finally climbing out of the gutter, and things can only go up from here, right? Now, I do have to admit that I had a big smile on my face during the entire scene where Subaru was having his emotional breakdown. Not that, not that I was really making fun of him or anything, or it was Schadenfreude, although I guess maybe a little bit, but mostly, I was actually very glad to hear him finally admitting to his shortcomings, admitting to his flaws and whatnot, because, as we all know, acknowledging that there's a problem is the first step towards fixing it, right? Now that he's finally got the proper mindset, now is the time when we can, we can really push him forward, right? Otherwise, in the past, just like in the last episode, or I guess 2 episodes before, where Subaru had a fire in his eyes. Now that means nothing, right? All the determination in the world means nothing if you're going at it from a wrong attitude here. So, that's why I was smiling during that entire scene, because I knew that from this point, we are going to be having a new and improved Subaru, if you will. And not to mention, right, it was definitely necessary, and it was also necessary for Rim to be there beside him, because, I mean, Rim's not gonna say all that out of nowhere. She has to actually see Subaru break down himself first, right? And then speaking of Rim, absolute faith, huh? Like I said, that's really the one thing that Subaru needs, because he has such little confidence in himself. Well, I guess you could say that originally he had overconfidence, but then simultaneously he had, zero confidence, right? And so what Rem is offering him is exactly what he needs. Just that little boost to his confidence that's going to keep let him keep going again, right? Really, Subaru falls to 2 extremes right now, right? It's either completely overconfident or no confidence at all, but I guess that's just the way he is, right? And yeah, I mean, what more can you say there, right? I To be honest, it's really hard not to root for and support Rem in this kind of situation when you see this level of devotion and whatnot. Now, then again, I would also slightly argue that this kind of devotion is also as much a burden as anything. In fact, I think I mentioned in the last episode how there was this sort of parallel, right, between Rem and Subaru, and then Subaru and Emilia. And I think it's even made more obvious in this episode with the sort of faith that Rem is placing in Subaru, similarly to how Subaru was placing his faith on Emilia, as we go back to, what was it? The original episode 13, which I believe in this one is episode 6 or 7 or something like that, where Emilia was also questioning Subaru, like, why do you place this faith in me? Why do you believe, why are you doing all these things for my sake, etc., right? And now, of course, the difference here is that Subaru didn't really take to that too well, and whereas in this case, Rim said the exact things that needed to be said in order for Subaru to regain his confidence and to continue to troop on, whereas Subaru did not do the same thing with Emilia. So hopefully he learns from that as well. And of course, the confession and then the ultimate rejection. I mean, what can you say, right? It's, you can definitely tell how Rim, I love that entire monologue. Well, I guess not really quite monologue, but that entire scene from Rim as well. You can definitely tell that she's been putting a lot of thought into a life with Subaru, even without him mentioning this, right? You don't just think of all that and all your futures and have your daydreams and whatnot just there on the spot, right? It's definitely something that she's thought very often before, and she's fought long and hard of before already, but still things are not to be, right? And I said it at that point as well. Subaru at that point, with his his declaration of love for Emilia, I feel like I said that was the most mature response he's given so far. It's the best thing he's done so far. I guess that's slightly the word, I guess that is a sort of not as good a wording. I feel like maybe saying that it was the most appropriate response would be better, right? It's definitely the correct thing to say, and no, it shows that Subaru has grown, right? It's not, saying that in a calm face and saying, well, no, I get it, but however, my love is for Emilia and what that. I do quite like how he handled that situation as well. And I mean, it's I mean, some things are just not meant to be, right? Um Obviously, I can definitely, even if last episode it wasn't obvious enough, in this episode, uh Team Rem, totally understand their position. And to be honest, if I were to really ask my heart right now, I would also be leaning towards Rem. Now, with that being said, no, that's kind of unfair, right? Because I think it's quite obvious that Emilia also had her share of hardships that she's went through, and we haven't really heard her side of the story yet, right? Rem is simply here because we heard her story first. We can have an equally tragic and whatnot of story with Emilia as well. And also, I feel like even if I were to be more so on the side of loving Rem, if you will, uh, even so, I definitely wouldn't say that Subaru, choosing Rem would be the solution to all this, because in a way, you could say that the Subaru that Rem actually is in love with, that actually considers a hero, is only that kind of Subaru, is only that kind of person precisely because that he has this love towards Emilia, right? If you actually remove that, I don't think that's going to be the same Subaru, right? So it's a catch-22 kind of situation. It's just not meant to be. So what can I say, right? So that's my thoughts on this entire, this sort of triangle right now. And another, I guess, kind of a tangent, but if this was actually a work that went a little bit more philosophical, I guess you could say, or maybe a bit more grandstanding in terms of its philosophies and in terms of the concepts and whatnot, that particular scene where Rem was comforting Subaru and saying all these things like, I believe in you because you saved me, and so on and so forth, the funny thing is, at that moment, I was actually thinking more, okay, if I was the author of a light novel with that kind of situation, I would actually have Subaru's internal monologue being, little did she know that I was just faking it, right? And, that is true. I mean, if we consider back to the point where Subaru saved Rem, right? The scene in the mansion where Subaru woke up from his injuries with Rem beside him and all that, and we get to see Rem's brilliant smile for the first time. He even said so much. He even said as much himself. He didn't really fully understand the situation. He's just saying things, kind of irresponsibly, right? So, that's exactly the definition of faking it. So I feel like, to me, like, my best dialogue, if you will, would be, right. So little does, like, I'm talking about Subaru's inner monologue here. Little does Rim know that I'm actually faking it. However, who cares if it's a fake? For her sake, I'm just going to have to fake it until I make it, right? Something similar to that, right? Acknowledging still that he is a fraud, he is a fake in a way, but then using that as who says the fake things can't become as real as the real thing, right? So that kind of concept went within it. But I don't think ReZero is actually a type of anime or a type of work that goes for that type of that type of introspective and whatnot. So let's not make it too complicated. And yeah, so anyways, with all that being said, he's got back on his feet, setting a plan in action. I'm not too surprised here. I think I've already mentioned as much for the past 2 episodes that is probably what Subaru should do. Now, the one thing I was a little bit disappointed by, though, is I don't know if it's maybe to save time or whatnot, but I would have really liked if the anime went in deeper to allow us to understand how Subaru eventually worked all this out for himself, right? We already see him, we see a lot of his monologues and whatnot, where he is, he's raging against the world, raging against everyone, and acting all self-entitled and all that. So once he really changed his attitude around, how did he eventually arrive at this type of conclusion, including the fact that, okay, so what can I do? I need to gain allies. What can I do to gain allies? What can I do to convince these candidates to help Emilia, right? And help me help Emilia. So I would have loved to see his entire thought process and how he changed the mindset all the way to that point. I'm not sure if that was maybe in the light novel or whatnot, and they just cut it out in the anime, but that is something that I would have loved to see. Just as and also I would have loved to see his prior negotiation with Anastasia and the merchant dude who I already forgot the name of. I'm sorry, but I would have loved to see that scene too as well, right? Because Anastasia already taught the basics of negotiation to Subaru, but I want to see how Subaru actually conducted himself in front of a master negotiator like Anastasia, right? And he's already learned that it's a give and take situation here. We can clearly see here that he's offering his services to Karush as well, and as well as providing a valuable and important ally for the future. That's pretty much as I expected that Karush would want. And then of course for Anastasia, she gets financial gain and safety and all that, but more of a realist kind of thing right now. I think ultimately still the financial gains is the outcome out of all of that. But that's true to their characters as well, and I would have loved to see how Subaru himself eventually arrived at this situation, just to see the light bulb going off in his head and whatnot, and then putting this into action. But yeah, it's just a slight disappointment here. Maybe they didn't have enough time. But anyways, now we are concluding with, well, not really concluding, but we are starting the hunt for Moby Dick here, right? And that was kind of unexpected for me. I definitely knew that he had to solve this problem somehow, the white whale. I figured that Wilhelm was probably going to be a key to all this, and then he might also be the one who convinced Karush and utilizes some of her own personal power as well. I didn't quite expect her to already be on the verge of launching an expedition against the white whale. Even though I did think that perhaps she was preparing something, she was preparing armed forces and all that, I was actually going into it more from a perspective of perhaps there's some border tensions or whatnot, maybe there's some problems with neighboring kingdoms, with neighboring countries, and that's why she is doing this, because I think at this point we can clearly see that Karush is one who truly has the well-being of the country as her priority, right? So that was what I was thinking. If they're going to go on an expedition, sure. Definitely, I am curious to see how exactly they're going to take down a flying monster whilst they are mostly on foot, right? But I guess that's something we'll learn in the next episode. Not to mention we still got that fog to worry about as well, which could completely throw a wrench into all these plans as well. But anyways, still great episode as usual. The quality of all these episodes have definitely been really stellar. I can definitely see why lots of people consider ReZero as one of the best isekais ever. Yeah, I am truly being entertained through all this, with all the twists that it's throwing in, the hero's journey, right, getting down into the tragics and the despair and all that, and then rising triumphantly again at the very end to overcome situations. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a tried and true formula, but I think there were enough twists along the way to really make this unpredictable and very exciting. So there we go. That's it for episode 10 of ReZero. I'll see you guys next time as well. Stay tuned, and bye-bye.